Welcome back. I am joined right now by Clinton Campaign Senior Economic Advisor Gene Sperling. We're in the middle of a conversation. He's also the former director of the National Economic Council for both Presidents Clinton and Obama. And Gene, before we went to the break, you basically said, look, Clinton looked at this. She kicked the tires on TPP. After first she was for it, she decided, you know what, this is not good and I'm going to be against it. Why is she against it? I mean, there's a lot of people out there, and you know, I'm speaking to CEOs of global businesses all the time, and they say, we want TPP. So what's the problem?
Look, I think Hillary Clinton feels the central issue in our campaign and in the country right now is middle-class security, whether we have a broad, inclusive middle class, and whether or not we're reducing economic inequality. These are the central issues. And what she is focused on is whether we're having job creation that encourages location, value-added jobs in the United States. And I think, you know, she's not somebody who's always been for trade agreements. You know, the main multilateral trade agreement that took place when she was in the Senate was CAFTA, the Central American Free Trade Agreement, and she was against that. She has been case by case on trade, and she looks at what is the impact it's going to have on workers, on manufacturing. And again, I think when she looked at things like rule of origin, currency manipulation, other measures like that, she did not feel that this met her test for the type of job creation, and that she wanted the type of job creation initiative she wanted, and that she wants to put her focus on a plan that's going to focus on manufacturing, on small business, on infrastructure, things that will tighten the labor market further, lead to higher wages, and then things that will affect family security, like family medical leave, paid family medical leave, and child care. This is the heart and soul of her agenda, and I just think that for her, TPP didn't meet the test, and that, you know, she has made clear that she is against it now and will be against it during the lame duck and after the campaign, but she is going to be fighting for a stronger economy that's going to work for middle-class families and for poor families to move up. That's the focus. And, you know, we understand people disagree. Look, President Obama, who her and I both work for, who we think is honorable, you know, not just an honorable man, but a champion of the middle class, disagrees. But this is where she is, and she did it by looking closely at the final deal. And I think that's what people would want of the president.
That's really what she's got to focus on tonight, right, for the debate. By the way, everything you just said, it sounds like she agrees with Donald Trump on TPP. But let me ask you about the debate and about economic policy, because you're so good on policy, and you're there in St. Louis for the debate tonight. How is she going to walk this balance tonight, Gene, by talking about creating jobs when, in fact, we have an economy that is crawling along? You know, we just got the jobs numbers out on Friday, Gene. It was 156,000 jobs for the month of September, below expectations. A lot of people are upset. They haven't seen their wages moved in so long. How is she going to say, I'm going to create jobs, when, in fact, she's raising taxes on the highest earners? And, Gene, you and I know that's going to hit small business. If small business is the biggest creator of jobs, why are you raising taxes on small business, Gene?
Boy, you said a lot of things there. You know, I'm a Michigan football fan. We're fourth in the country now. We were 8-8 just a couple years ago. So you know what we think? We think we've gotten way, way better. Not quite good enough yet. We'd like to get to #1 and beat Ohio State. Look at the U.S. economy. Barack Obama inherited it when we were on the verge of a depression. If you look at job creation, Maria, you've had 15 million private sector jobs over the last 5 or 6 years. That's the best since when? Since the Clinton administration, better than any of the previous Republican administrations. And on wages, even on wages and income, you know, the census report just showed the largest one-time increase in household income, 2,800, 5%, and that wages are up 2.8%.
I know, but they're still below the 90s.
Is that good enough?
They're still lower than when they were in the 90s.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so what it shows is that the kind of economic plan that focuses on the middle class has led to a lot of enormous improvement. A lot of reason things haven't been better is more that Republicans blocked things that Barack Obama was trying to do on infrastructure, on modernizing schools, on strengthening manufacturing. So I think what she's going to be saying is exactly that.
Well, he had both houses. He had both houses on his team in the first 4 years, Gene, and he still didn't make a big difference.
he had both houses on his team for the first 2 years. And what did he do? He helped take us from a near depression to out of recession in just 6 months. And you know, Maria, here's a trivia question. What was Mitt Romney's #1 goal when he ran in 2012? It was to reduce the unemployment rate to 6% by the end of 2016. So we're sitting here now with unemployment at 5%. It's been even lower. 15 million private sector jobs, a very strong job creation element. So I think, you know, I think she can say exactly that because of Barack Obama and because of that kind of focus, things have gotten stronger. But she can come in now not having to spend her first 2 years focusing on a financial crisis. She can zero right in on middle-class security, middle-class wages. And, Maria, we are going to help the small businesses. She has a new small business tax cut, including a new standard deduction for small business, simplification, better tax cuts for small businesses, providing health care for expensing. But here's what she's not going to do. She's not going to use the pretext of small business to say that investment bankers, hedge fund managers, corporate tax lawyers get a 15% rate, which is what Donald Trump has.
Well,
at the same time, under Donald Trump's plan,
so you don't think lowering corporate
a worker
taxes
making $40,000 would pay a 25% rate. By his own plan, somebody making $40,000 pays a higher marginal rate than a person with business or partnership income making $4 million.
Well, where have the
that.
highest corporate taxes in the industrialized world gone us, Gene? 156,000 jobs for the month of September. I mean, come on. The last 8 years, we have been seeing these high taxes for corporates.
Maria,
they're not spending money, Gene. They're not investing in people.
Maria,
they're not investing in R&D.
Maria, you keep saying something that's just not correct, which is that the number of jobs being created over the last few years has not been strong. It's been so much stronger than any Republican administration we've seen in 20 years. And unemployment has come down to 5%.